Hello and welcome to Treasure in Every Verse. I'm your host, author and Bible teacher Kevin Madison. Thank you for joining us today. Okay, friends, we're back, and I really wanted to complete this very brief study included inside the New Birth, so that as we go on to the next segment, and it's going to be talking specifically about the person of Jesus Christ, that we get this right. That what exactly is this holiness of God, and why it matters if we take this stuff lightly. Look, friends, God said that He's going to hold people guilty simply for using His name in vain. How much more guilty people are going to be held and accountable they're going to be held when they go around saying things about God that's not true. Essentially, lying on God, saying that God said something He didn't say, saying that God did something He didn't do, advising people by telling them the Lord told me to tell you, and they know for a fact it wasn't God. They just made it up. Friends, look, maybe to some folks this is a game, but it's not a game to God. And that's the scary part. So what are we getting into? Well, essentially what we're looking at, friends, is two parts. One we call a similitude. Essentially, the similitude is basically what we see in the Old Testament, right? Now, this is mostly confined to the Old Testament because when you get to the New Testament, God is completely unveiled, completely, in the person of Jesus Christ. So look at the things that the Bible says God is. For Abraham, he was a smoking oven and a burning torch. Fire. For Moses, he was a flame of fire and a smoking furnace. For the children of Israel, when he came down, he was a smoking furnace and a consuming fire. So how did people recognize the holiness of God? The difference between the God who is alive and all these fake gods like Buddha and Muhammad and Zeus and I don't know, who are some of these other gods, man? Whatever. Women, gods, men, gods, frog gods, you name it. You name it. What's the difference between them and the one true God? First, God, the one true God, is alive. The others are fake. There is no, I don't know, who the Muslims call their God. I have no idea who he is. Know why? Because he don't exist. I have no idea who the God of the Hindus are. Why? Because he doesn't exist. It's not that I don't know their names. I hear their names all the time. Come on. We hear Apollo and I don't know, well, some of these Athena and whatever else, man. So I'm not talking about the name of their gods. I can care less. The reason I don't know them is because they do not exist. It's hard to get to know somebody that don't exist. However, on the other hand, the one true God, Jehovah, the eternal King, the Holy One, how do he differentiate himself from all others? He is. He has always been. And he always will be. He has declared the end from the beginning. He tells us what has passed. He tells us about the things that's happening today. And we know without a shadow of a doubt exactly where we're going to be in the future and what we're going to be doing. Why? Because he wrote it out in advance for you to read. And you can go check it against history. And it's spot on. No contradictions. Nothing. No one can challenge it. Oh, and there have been very, very smart people from a human perspective that have challenged it and failed every single time. And they will continue to fail. Why? Because God says, I have set my king upon my holy mount, Zion. So stop raging. Stop fussing. There's absolutely nothing you can do about this. The God of the Bible, Scripture, is pure light. The God of the Bible, the Holy One, is pure fire. You won't get anywhere close to this God unless you are completely holy. So for those of you who's pretending, playing your religious games, keep going. Do I want that? Of course not, but you do. So it doesn't make a difference what I want or what I say. You're going to meet up with a holy God. And you're going to die in your sin. And he's going to cast you into hell. To those of you who think there is no God, go ahead. Keep believing that till the day you die. And on the other side of that, you're going to meet up with this burning oven, with this torch, with this flame. The one who is a consuming fire. And you're going to find out you were wrong. And he's going to cast you into hell. Those of you who think you're good enough, that you're smart enough to figure it out, that you're going to be like Cain, you don't need a lamb. You don't need a substitutionary death. That you're going to come up to God based on your own merits. Because what you produce is really, really good. It's better than everybody else who have ever lived. And that may be true. But in that day when you die, you're going to meet up with perfection in holiness. And not perfection in unrighteous, ungodly, sinner, wicked perversion of God's truth. And in that day, he's going to compare your ungodly, wicked, unrighteous, unjust behavior, thoughts. He's going to put up his own righteousness, his own holiness, his own justice, and he's going to compare it to yours. And in that day, he's going to cast you into the lake of fire, which burns forever, where there's going to be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So, you have a choice. Very simple one. And there's only one choice to make. You either come to God God's way, or you come to God your way. One leads to life, God's way. Every other way is false, has no hope, it is demonic and man-made. That's right. There's a way that seems right unto a man, or woman, or a demon. But the end of that way leads to death. God is going to cast you into hell. And if you think he's going to be sorry for doing it, no, friends, it's not in the book. If you think the angels are going to beg God, no, God, don't do it. If your parents are saved and you think they're going to beg God, no, that's my baby. No, that's not what the book teaches. If your children go and you don't, and you think they're going to stand next to God and beg God, don't cast you into hell, you got the wrong book, you got the wrong God, and you got the wrong believers. How do I know that? Because God wrote it over in the book of Revelation. You know what it says? It says, when God destroys all false religion, everyone that is in heaven stands and screams at their loudest. And they reverberate by shaking the heavens, rejoicing that God had ridden his creation of every filthy, rotten, wretched sin. Will your children be one who is rejoicing and thanking God for getting rid of you? Will your parents be one who be clapping and rejoicing with all the holy angels that God has gotten rid of you because you remained in your sin? Oh, I can tell you, I love my family. My parents who's going on to be with the Lord. My wife, my children, my grandkids, my siblings. Look, there's absolutely nothing I can do for them to help them get to heaven besides doing what I'm doing today, giving out the gospel. And if they don't, today, while I'm alive here on the earth, my heart is completely broken. And there is sorrow. I mean, I can't imagine, honestly, being in heaven without them. Yet, I know, because the book tells me, there has been some really great men and women of God whose family members were wretched. David's children was horrible. Samuel's sons were horrible. Eli, the high priest, was horrible. Adam's children were horrible. Moses' children. Just go on and on and on. What does that mean? That means you can't save a family member, so you better get saved yourself. Because coming a day where the pain and the angst that I feel today for unsaved loved ones, family, friends, neighbors, and people, even people I don't know, who I'm right now begging, pleading to believe the gospel. Friends, begging. Why? Because I understand what's going to happen if they don't. They're going to meet up with this holy God. And he's going to cast them into hell. And in that day, I am going to be, along with every other believer and every holy angel, in total 100% agreement and alignment with the Most High God. And we're going to sing his praises for getting rid of every single sinner who died in their own sin. So there's your similitude, that is, God given to us in a picture format, in what he would like for you to think about him when you think about his holiness, the purity of a consuming fire. In Malachi, he's called the refiner's fire. Everything that comes around him, friends, have to be refined. Refined? You mean believers? Of course, especially believers. It has to be refined to bring out of it any impurity. What do you think they refine? How do you get pure gold? Turn up the heat. What are they getting out of it? Impurities. Everything that's not gold. Silver, same thing. It simply removes all impurities. So what is impurities in our lives? Sin, man. Sin. So, God in picture, similitude. Now, let's move on to God in person. Is there a difference? Let's see. Daniel chapter 10. Okay. Daniel's a very interesting book, man. I mean, this if you love the study of, prophecy, Daniel's a book where you can spend a whole year just studying some really deep stuff in this book. It's awesome. So Daniel was true man of God. And he went into captivity at a very early age because of, the nation of Israel total rebellion against God. Listen, Daniel is the only person in the book where an angel on 3 separate occasions said about this man, "O man, greatly beloved." Greatly beloved by God. The angel, when he came up to Daniel, his introduction to Daniel was, "O man, greatly beloved." Now, where in the world would an angel get to know that from? God said it. He heard God talk about Daniel. And he knew. So when he walked up to Daniel, you're crying out to God, and you're right to cry out to God the way but you don't even understand how greatly beloved you are. So Daniel, he went into captivity. He was a young teenager, yet he stood for God. Him and his Hebrew friends. Yet he stood for God. During the Babylonian captivity with Nebuchadnezzar, and then he went on with Darius and then Cyrus the king. So we have this through the years, right? Daniel is there with him. So now this is the 3rd year. Cyrus the king, the Persian, and then it was Darius the Mede, and then Cyrus the Persian came after that.